Hi, I'm Dawn with Grooming Brittanys. This is Farmer. We've just been working on some videos. We worked on the back coat video on his back. And we've done, I think, feet and butt, like his hindquarters. And now we're gonna do the front piece and his feathering on his legs, front legs. That'll be what this video is about. He just turned 2 and he's had a huge shed this spring and he really never got a lot of coat back in, which is really nice. So he doesn't have a lot of coat to work with here, but I'm gonna at least show you what I will and am going to do with it. So, and then he's got a ton of feathering on his front legs. So I'll show you what I would do with that. So first of all, I'm gonna come up here. In the last video, I kind of thinned this into on the sides here. I thinned all that in. But what I'm gonna do now, and again, I've already shaved this. I came down here, shaved across, shaved back up to the ear, and then across to the jawline. You're shut your mouth. There you go. So at this point, I'm gonna thin, and you're gonna have, he's gonna have to be willing. And you can see, I forget to mention these things, but I'm pulling the skin tight, because if I didn't, it'd be really hard to make some nice cuts here. So I'm gonna pull this tight, and he doesn't care, he doesn't mind, not hurting him. And I'm gonna go underneath and get some of this out. So what I wanna do, how I want this to look, and you wanna keep combing it so that you get that. I'm gonna go in here. No, you need to stand. They absolutely have to stand for this because it'll distort this whole piece if they don't. So make sure that they're standing correctly when you do this. What I want is just this nice piece here, but I want this smooth over here and I want this smooth over here. And I don't want any of this stuff here. So that's what we're doing. We're taking all that off. Now, again, you can come at it from underneath and thin it, and you can come at it from the top and just take the, skim the top, just take the top layer, the top stuff off there. Pretty happy with that side. I might come back and play with it some more, but pretty happy with that side. So I'm gonna come at this side, and I'm gonna come, and just be careful you're not taking any of this out, especially with him, he doesn't have anything. And this is more of a show, obviously, type thing. If he was just doing field trials this fall and not any show stuff, I would just literally take a scissors and cut that off. I would just come in here. I would just come in here with my scissors and just cut that right off, right like that, because he doesn't need it. Now, I like to leave some protection for my field dogs because God gave them that hair for a reason. And if they're running through barbed wire or running through burrs or tough situations, I want them to have some coat there for protection. So I would always leave some coat there. But so this is more being fancy. So I think I'm gonna put this up a little higher to get his head up a little higher. Good boy, buddy. Good. There. So you can see where that looks better. Now, if he had any hair here at all, you would see that this, is all cleaned up on these two sides, and you've just got this little poof here. Now, I am gonna take for him, because it looks a little bit silly for him, and I'm just gonna thin this in. There's no point in having 12 hairs sticking out there. I'm just gonna thin that a little bit and let that be. Now, let's come down here. The thing down here is I like to keep this tight and clean. So go ahead, and again, this is more for showing purposes. If I would probably leave a little bit more here, actually, if I was doing field stuff, I would leave some in here because they catch, the fence, barbed wire fence or whatever right there. So I would maybe leave a little bit more of that, but for neatening it up purposes, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna take this off, and I'm gonna go in here and take some of this out. And this is all, there's groomers that know more than me, that's for sure. This is how I like to do it. I'm gonna move to the other side. This is how it's worked for me for a lot of years. So but there's certainly a lot of other ways to do it. It's just how I'm comfortable with it. Now, of course, you're always better at one side than the other, right? Like, because I'm not ambidextrous, so I'm right-handed, and I'm better at one side than the other. So you're just gonna have to know. So I've got this all cleaned up right here, and I've got this pretty good right here. You really have to, again, like I've said repeatedly, you have to maneuver the dog, you have to maneuver yourself, you have to maneuver the scissors to get a good spot. And I'm just gonna keep taking this out because there's not enough there to worry about. So I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. Once I bathe him and give him a fresh bath and get, some of the hair and stuff out of there, I'll come back and see what else I need to do with it. But I'm pretty happy with that. I'm gonna go in under here and take a little bit more of this out. And this is gonna show a little bit of lines and stuff right in here because you're just taking it so close. So you're gonna show some lines, that's okay. If you do it, a week or two before the shows, that'll help. And then like right before the show, if you bathe them, you can go back, like I said, and trim up a little bit more of exactly how you want it to look. Good boy, buddy. So, all right, now let's do, he doesn't really have enough under here to worry about, and I'm gonna do, maybe I should just do the underline at the same time. Let's do that. So we do kind of this front piece. I'm just gonna take this off because he has nothing. So come on over to the side here maybe, and you can see, all I did was just trim and neaten this up because he doesn't have anything there. He'll get some as soon as he gets his fall and winter coat in, but right now he's got nothing. So I just took it and just tipped the stray hairs. I just kind of tipped those off because there's no point in those just dangling there funny. So I'm happy with that. Okay, now this is where I kind of get goofy. I don't like a lot of hair here. There's no reason for it. They shouldn't look like a setter. They should look like a Brittany. There's just not, less is more. So what I like to do sometimes is grab some water or a little bit of spray conditioner here, and I might spray this a little bit to help so it's not as fuzzy. I know you worry about just standing there. I'll worry about the grooming part, okay? I guess I really didn't do this down here either, so let me neaten this up because it's always better to look at it as a whole rather than just a piece. Oh, I didn't do that either. Okay. So now I'm gonna take and I'm pushing down on his pastern there, and I've combed this down. Stop. I've combed this down. Now I'm gonna just take my scissors and I'm just gonna go ahead, and I actually trim in an arc here. So stop. They don't need all this hair up here either. So I leave a little bit there and I actually trim that. Now this is something, and I would play with it a little bit here too. This is something that I would do again a week or two before the show, because it, you can see some pretty definite cuts. You can see my cut there. So I would do it a little bit in advance and let that grow out just a little bit. You could also do it with the thinning shears and not get, I like to take this down. Some people leave more on that pastern, but I like to take it a little bit down there. And then I start closer here. I come out. Oh, stop it. Stand up. You're fine. He's like, I'm tired of standing. You're fine. And so if you used a thinning shears, you'd get a little not such a straight cut. Now another thing you can do with the thinning shears, his isn't too bad, but like Hobie's, his brother, he would always get, it would be really thick. So I even go so far as to take the thinning shears in there and thin that out. You can see all that hair I'm taking out. That's not a lot, but I would take a lot more out on Hobie. Again, he just doesn't have a lot of hair right now, so I'm not worrying too much about it, but I like that better. And you always take it off a little at a time so that you don't take out too much. So you just keep taking it off until it's where you like it. So let's do the other side. So you can see kind of the before and after. See this side? Like it's a big difference, right? And they don't really need all that craziness. So we're gonna do the same thing to this side. And again, I'm always better at one side than I am the other because being right-handed, but he doesn't need all that fluff. So I'll take it and I'm gonna spray it a little bit. And I picked up a lot of this stuff from other friends and breeders and groomers that I've respected and liked how their dogs look. And that's what I would I invite you to do is really check out different people and ask if you can watch or ask how they do a certain part of the dog. Hopefully you got your dog from a good breeder and you can go back and ask that breeder, you know, how they do it. And I'm gonna clean up this pastern just so it's easier for me to get a better idea of where I want to go with the hair. All right, so I'm gonna, this one's harder for me, but I'm gonna come in like this. And again, I always get this a little closer up here and I arc it. I leave a little bit more and then I arc that. And when I put it down, that's where I want it. So I'm happy with that. I like that. I am gonna, I really wouldn't even thin this on him, but I'll take a couple little chops in there, just for argument's sake, I guess, and pull that out. And that's how I like it. If I see anything I don't like, I can come in with the thinning shears and take it down, but you gotta be careful how much you play with it because it's only gonna get shorter, it's not gonna get longer. So if you're already shorter than where you wanted it, just be careful you don't make it shorter than you already are. So that's how I like that. Okay, let's go back to the other side and we'll maybe talk about the girth or the loin and the undercarriage here. So again, he has like no hair, so there's really not much under here to worry about. If I was doing it, so to do like this piece under here, I will grab this hair out of the and hold it out of the way. Here's where I wish I had, you know, like a ton of hands. I can already see where I missed a chunk over here, so I'm going to take that off. Sometimes I do that. There we go. All right, so I'm going to kind of grab this and I'm going to pick this up and I'm going to just tip these wispies off just like I did in the front because he has no hair, so those little wispies that are sitting there aren't doing anybody any good. So I'm going to tip those off and just get those a little bit more even. Now if I was doing this again a couple weeks before the show, I would be so brave as to come in with just my straight shears and just trim that. So depends how close to the show you are, depends how brave you are, how much practice you've had, and how much the dog will handle too. So all right, so I'm going to show you. So that's that didn't need much. Most dogs need a lot more, but I'm going to show you this trick that that Chris taught me how to do. I learned a lot from Chris. I'm gonna put one blade on though, because I don't like it as tight as she does it personally, because again, my dogs are field dogs also, and I don't want the dogs, no more weenie juice. I don't want the dogs not to have any protection under here, because he'll go hunting with me this fall. So she takes this and does it real tight, and I love, you know, how the look she gives it, but I just want a little bit of protection in there. So I'm gonna, and I'm probably taking off more than I want to, but you just pick them up like this and just kind of carve that out a little bit. It just cleans that all up. But again, I would not do this on a hunting dog, or at least take it this tight, because I want that protection on their belly. Good boy, honey. Good boy. Hey, don't? Got it? Okay. So now I would go either with the clippers, or I'm just gonna use the scissors, and I'm gonna clean up his sheath, because this doesn't need to be quite so hairy, and it's nice to keep that clean so you don't get a lot of goop hanging out in there. Keep that clean. And then I trim in front of it too. So, nice to have that cleaned up. All right, now this piece, a lot of this gets taken care of with just what we did with the clippers, but I'll pull this forward, and again, depending on how brave I am and how far in advance I have that till my next show, I'll just use a scissors and cut this, honestly. And I will just freehand it. But again, a lot of practice, and if I have some time for it to grow out, that's how I will handle that. So when you comb up here, you really shouldn't come up with anything, and if you do, just trim it off. But I am definitely under the opinion that more is less as far as hair goes. I feel like Brittany should not have a bunch of hair. They don't need a ton of hair. Oh, look at, there's kind of a chunk right there I missed. And so I like less hair. I don't, there's no reason for them to have a lot of hair. And they're not, we're very specific about they're not supposed to be sculpted. So, and I would go so far as to call this sculpted, you know, carving this out with the scissors. But again, I wouldn't show them like this. I would wait. If I was gonna show him this weekend, I would take a thinning shears and go in here and do it more with the thinning shears to get less of a line going. So that's how I would do that. So let's look at the other side, and I'll do that more with the thinning shears so you can see maybe the difference. Again, he's got no hair underneath here, so I'm just gonna trim that. And see, now we can come over here too and look at the mirror. That's why I love the mirror. There's this one piece that's weird that I might, if he was all bathed and ready to go, I would do more on this piece right by his sheath there, because I don't love how it's a little bit uneven. But I'm not gonna worry about now until after I bathe him and groom him like he's all ready for the show. So again, if you're gonna just use the thinning shears, just go under here, and you'll get less of a obvious line there. But for speed and efficiency and ease and less time for them to sit here, you can just use that straight scissors and cut right along there. I go back here and I pull this hair forward and I see if there's anything there to cut, and I take that off. Now, I think I'm gonna do, I could sit here and mess with it, I always move around into other parts. So, so anyway, that's how I would do, and this is like a roughing out for the underline and the legs and the front piece. Poor guy needs some hair. And this is how I would kind of rough it out. And then I would, once I bathed him and it was closer to the show date, I would come back and trim it a little better. But I think that looks awfully nice. All right, let's grab somebody else with a little bit more hair. I'll try and find somebody and we'll see what that looks like. Okay, here we are working with Jersey. We're gonna work on her front piece here and her posternum and her, just like we did on Farmer, and her feathering on her legs, her undercarriage, and then like that stifle area. And see if we can get her all set up here. Now she's just one, so she doesn't have a ton of hair either actually. But for a girl, she's got a fair amount of hair. So I'm gonna come in here, just like we did with Farmer, and I'm gonna take this off, because she doesn't need this. And we're just gonna leave this little poof right here, and that's it. So I'm gonna thin all this, coming up underneath, getting that out of there. Looks like I didn't thin this very well up here, so let me get that too. Again, keep that comb rolling so you don't make any mistakes. But you're gonna make mistakes, so count on it. Make your life easier if you just know what's gonna happen. But the hair will grow, so not a problem. But that's why, again, I recommend you do things a couple weeks in advance, not only to give it time to grow out a little bit so it doesn't look quite as scissored, but also if you goof up, which we all do, it gives you a little time to fix it. All right, so this, I'm liking this right here. See, she's got this little poof, but this is all nice on both sides. So now I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna clean this out right here. And I'm gonna clean this. I like to keep this tight, right in through here. Keep all that tight. And keep this kind of clean right here. She doesn't have a lot there, and that's good. I'll just clean it up a little bit so it doesn't look quite as scraggly. I'm gonna switch spots here, and then I'll go in and clean this up. So it's nice to get this area right here all cleaned up. Again, for a field dog, I would probably leave this, so you'd have a little bit more protection come fall. So I go both ways with my scissors sometimes. I'll go under, I'll go over, and I just tip. Don't dig too deep. Don't dig deep unless you're digging under, unless you're coming under like that to thin like this. Unless you're coming under to thin something, don't go deep. All right, so I think that's pretty. I like that. Oh, Phoenix. So let me go. I'm gonna put Phoenix out. Phoenix, outside Phoenix. All right, let's work on those, on her feathering. On this side, so if you want to come over here, probably. All right, so I'm gonna spray that. Jersey, hold still, Jersey. Just spray that a little bit. Isn't quite so fly away. Make sure they're standing pretty close to a nice show stack and their heads forward, so everything's where it should be, because you get a better idea. Now, again, I'm gonna hold that. You stand. I'm gonna hold this here, and I'm gonna go ahead and trim this in like an arc. And I'm gonna trim this. Doesn't need to be there. Just cleaning everything up here. There we go. But I'm leaving this. I'm just cleaning up kind of this armpit area here. But I'm leaving the chest hair, the belly or the chest hair. but I'm cleaning up the armpit a little bit. There. So when we put that down and comb that out, and I'm not gonna thin that because I don't want it any thinner. It's already not very thick, but that's exactly the length I want it. I'm happy with that. It's still a little wet right now, so it's got to dry yet. All right, so if I come up here and I'm gonna grab this arm like this, I'm gonna keep cleaning this up a little bit under here. Make sure I kind of look at it from different angles so I figure out what I'm doing. And then I'm gonna come under here and I'm just gonna go ahead and tip this off just a little bit to neaten this up. Tip this off to neaten it up under here. So I'm gonna put this back down and see how it's looking. And I can come at it this way, or I can come at it this way, or I can come at it this way just a little bit too. All right, and then I'm gonna come get this under here a little bit, give her her tuck up there. All right, I'm gonna come at her a little bit with this. I think I'm gonna use a 2. I used a 1 on Farmer and it was pretty tight on him. So I'm gonna come under here and I'm gonna use, you got it? And she's like, I don't know about this. And I'm gonna use a 2 and I'm just gonna clean this up just a little bit. I can even go against the grain just a little bit. I'm not as good at this part as this is kind of a newer thing that I started doing that a friend of mine taught me how to do, Chris. So I'm still kind of working on this new little angle, but the dog's got to learn how to do it. I got to learn how to do it a little better. But it does clean things up under there nicely. Again, if I was hunting with her, I would I might clean it up, but I wouldn't take it quite as tight. Jersey stand. It's dinner time for them right now, so they're getting hungry. Hey, Jersey stand. So I grab this with a comb. I'm gonna switch places with it, actually. I grab this with a comb and I pull that forward. And I'm not really getting anything. Partly because I shaved some of it, which is good. There we go, I got some. And I trim this with pulling it forward with the scissors. You can also try and pull some of it forward with your hands too, but you gotta be careful not to cut your fingers. I think I've cut my fingers more than I've ever cut a dog. So I just trim that, keep that neat, and keep that. Anything that I don't like, I just tip off. Just cut the tip of it in there. I make sure I stack her in the right position. I make sure her head's in the right position. Her feet are pretty close to where they should be. Otherwise, that'll distort this whole thing. And I wish my eyesight was more like it was 20 years ago or 30 years ago, but I'm not doing too bad here. And that's how I like that, doing that outline. So we did the butt in a butt video, the rear end. So if you want to look at that, check out the butt video. So that's all trimmed up. And now let's go to the other side, but you can see how pretty this looks from the side too. Isn't it, Jersey girl? And again, and we did her back coat too, that's on another video. And then once I got her all ready for the show, once she was all freshly blown out, then I would take a look at all that again too, and just tip off the part that I didn't like. But I will go in here again, and this is always the harder side for me because not only am I fighting the grooming arm, but it's just awkward for me since I'm right-handed. But just gonna give that one little light squirt and kind of comb it. Being a young girl, it's not a lot of hair there yet, which is fine. She might get more, she might not. Girls don't need a ton of hair. Not like those boys flaunting their stuff. All right, so I'm happy with how that turned out. Once it dries, I might trim it a little bit more, but right now it's a little bit damp from when I sprayed it, which is fine. And then I'll come at this side with my straight shears, because the other side I did with the thinning shears. So I'm gonna do it with my straight shears. Can even come in like to her armpit area with my straight shears a little bit and get that. And again, I wouldn't do this real close to the show because I'm getting a pretty hard line. No, Jers, no, hold still. She's like, I'm new at this, she says. I'm getting a pretty, but again, a week or two and this line will be a lot less obvious, but it'll grow back nicely. Quit. Good girl. No, hold still. Can make a huge difference just where their head position is at as far as how this ends up looking. And you don't want it to look really sculpted. You do not want to go in the ring like this. That's not what we want. So again, don't do this right before you go in. And you can always go back with the thinning shears and tip it off a little bit if you want. Give it a little bit more uneven look to it. But I tend to tip this stuff off. They don't need to have big poofs right in their armpit there. But again, you don't want to take this off, like the stuff that's underneath. Just want to take that armpit stuff off. Now I'm going to come and grab this, see if I can get anything there. And there again, if I'm just doing a maintenance groom, I'll just use my straight scissors because it goes a whole lot faster making one cut than 20 cuts with the thinning shears. So I might try and grab it with my fingers, but again, sometimes I don't get my fingers out of the way enough. And the girls, you have to be a little bit careful. I don't know if you can see, my head's probably in the way. But I trim under here too, like whatever I didn't shave. I just kind of get that under there. But she's just turned 1, and so obviously has not had puppies. And so her nipples are small. But if she's been in heat though once, and so her nipples aren't non-existent. They're a little bit bigger than when she's a baby, but if you've had a bitch that's had a couple litters of puppies, you got to be really careful when you're trimming under there. So I'm always picking at other things. So if she had bigger nipples, what I would definitely do is I would take, hey, don't look at your nipples, they're fine. I would take the scissor. Can you please just stand here? Thank you. I would take the scissors and I would either use, again, if I wasn't gonna show her anytime soon, I would use a straight scissors. Otherwise, I would use the thinning shears like this so I don't clip those nipples. You can do it either way. You can come at it like this and trim it like this, or you can come at it like this and trim it like this, but then the nipples are gonna be out of the way when you do that. But you just gotta be careful of that. But on her, it doesn't matter. Right, Jersey? Okay, so anyway, that's the stifle and the undercarriage and the front feathering and the front piece. So if you have any questions, give me a shout at mail@sovereignbrits.com, or the website's www.sovereignbrits.com. Check out other videos on YouTube, or you can always give me a call. My phone number's on the website. Thanks so much for watching.